Good morning, South America. Good morning, North America. Good morning, Asia. Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Antarctica. And good morning to Australia. It's not a continent, I know, but close enough. It's not like if you're gonna call something that's not a continent, you can't say, okay, New Zealand, you be the continent. It's gotta be Australia. Nobody's gonna believe you if you try to position Australia as a continent, given its obviously islandical uh, identity, shape, landmass. It's hard to say. Some people call Australia a continent, but others say no, it's an archipelago. Personally, I don't think it even exists at all. I think Australia is just an urban legend, which is all an irrelevant introduction to today's critically important question. Lupine, bovine, or porcine? Me, I'm the last of the three things. I'm porcine. Namely, I'm a pig. But perhaps you're not. Maybe you're a wolf or a cow. In my new system of typology, everybody is either a pig, a cow, or a wolf. If you're a wolf, I mean, just lots of big teeth. Ah! So the answer is porcine. If you saw the title and you're like, I wonder what the answer to that question is, the answer is porcine. Naturally, unless you're a cow or a wolf. Well, it's too late now, but I finally remembered what I wanted to title this live stream, which was not the title I picked. It was the title I wanted to title this was Mitch Hedberg versus Stephen Wright. Now, I will make this very clear to everybody, and I will tell you right out the gate, it's indisputably true. This is not a matter of opinion. Stephen Wright is much better than Mitch Hedberg. Granted, they're both non-contemporaneous comedians, which is why it's fair to pair them against each other. Stephen Wright came a little before Mitch Hedberg, but they were operant within a decade of each other as working comedians. And I watched a YouTube video last night called Mitch Hedberg versus Stephen Wright One-Liners. Stephen Wright was a genius. I think he's still alive, but he is an absolutely genius joke writer. He has his jokes still to this day age so beautifully and they're so funny. In contrast, Mitch Hedberg's stuff does not age especially well. He had too much of an affectation in his delivery. You know. And in contrast, Stephen Wright did his very best to remove delivery stuff and affectation from the jokes and just let them shine on their own. And he has such wholesome jokes too, Stephen Wright does. For example, I bought some powdered water, but I don't know what to add. It's a great joke. How about this one? I have many hobbies. about which I'm passionate and enjoy. For example, I have a large seashell collection, which I keep scattered across the beaches around the world. You may have seen it. That's a great joke. A great joke. Stephen Wright is responsible for the joke. You can't have everything. Where would you put it? Another fantastic joke. How about this one? I went to Canada, and when I came back across the border, they said, "Do you have anything to declare?" I told them, "I declare war." Right? Fantastic. Just brilliant. Um, Good morning, my darling. Sure. I figure we'll have a pretty low output day today. I wish I could remember more of the jokes that I watched from Stephen Wright last night. I would go into the room while Rachel was still awake and tell her the funniest ones that I saw. Yes, I agree. Mitch Hedberg gets an unmerited boost for dying tragically young. But it's also the case that when he was working, contemporary to his actual work as a comedian, he was he popped like this guy's hilarious, blah blah blah. But as with almost all art media, you shouldn't trust your instincts about it completely until it's aged on you for a while. Now, like genius joke writers who write genius jokes, they are doing the second hardest thing in all of human existence. The first hardest thing in all of human existence is to write a brilliant song. The second hardest thing is to write a brilliant joke. And of the two, probably writing a brilliant joke that ages well, while not as important as writing a good song that's timeless, it's kind of like a more sophisticated piece of work that you're doing. If you write a great joke that ages well and it's still funny 2 decades after you wrote it, that's an impressive accomplishment. Because comedy does not age. Unlike music, comedy does age rapidly, whereas music doesn't age at all. It's like it has music, the best songs, it's like they spend their whole life in oil of Olay. That's how they're so timeless. They have not a single wrinkle on them. But I should mention, my wrinkles are not just from aging, okay? There's one part of my body I'm already terribly wrinkled, even when I was first born, and that's my scrotum. So I realized this morning, hey, my scrotum is aging much more rapidly than the rest of my body. How else can you explain all the wrinkles? What's another good Stephen Wright joke I heard last night? I bought an actual sized map of the United States. The legend says 1 mile equals 1 mile. That's a good joke. What's another one? I should have been writing them down so I could talk about all these clever jokes that Stephen Wright wrote. Oh, here's another great Stephen Wright joke. I'm wearing two different colored socks right now, but they're the same to me because I go by thickness. Just all praises due. Fantastic. My favorite Mitch Hedberg joke is the one about how escalators can't break down, they just become stairs. I like that joke. But generally speaking, Mitch Hedberg's jokes don't age as well as Stephen Wright's. Although I will concede that it's difficult to evaluate the jokes entirely on their merits because Stephen Wright was more a master of deadpan delivery than Mitch Hedberg ever could have become. So it's important that we try to isolate the quality of the joke from the quality of the joke maker, like deliverer, I mean. Because I think if Mitch Hedberg delivered his jokes as well as Stephen Wright does, then I might feel like it was a closer race between the two of them. Regardless, they both deserve all of our respect because they succeeded in the hardest art medium, stand-up comedy. The scariest and hardest of all art media is stand-up comedy. The most important medium is music, obviously, but um, but that doesn't mean really that it's harder than comedy. As a performance art, stand-up comedy leaves you hung out to dry in front of everybody, and you just hope it's a warm breeze that dries everything quickly because the you know what every performer's worst nightmare should be is getting up on stage to do stand-up comedy and bombing. If you are in a band or something and your band sucks and you play a show and people kind of trickle out and don't really stick around, don't like your band or whatever, no big whoop. If you're standing up in front on a stage in front of a group of people expressly attempting to make them laugh and you are failing, ooh, that's like basically declaring war on your audience. This is going to be nothing but blood and guts and wailings and gnashings of teeth. When I went to the Ice House a long time ago, I saw a comedian who opened his show. He said, walked up to the mic and said, "So there are these two firemen, and they're butt fucking in the back of the fire station." And that was like the whole joke. There wasn't even any punchline to it. The joke was, I'm going to start the show off like this. Two firemen are butt fucking in the back of a fire station. Everybody laughs, but there's no punchline to it. Which I thought was pretty clever, that guy. I don't remember what his name was or anything. Steve Martin is somebody who's also written a lot of very timeless jokes that remain funny, even though it's decades since he made those jokes. Okay, are you guys ready for me to pull my first bong rip of the day? Well, you might be ready, but guess what's not? My bong. Well, what do you mean your bong's not ready, huh? Well, what I mean is, I know this isn't my normal MO or whatever, but I'm of the mind that I should clean this out before I eat today. There. Then I'm just going to do this to make it squirt out all the goose. Good, Aaron. There's that straw in the world, Kennedy. Okay. This is the design you want for a bong. It's got double bulbs here, right? But no twisty things to make it difficult to clean. What these double bulbs do, like this design, it makes it so you can fill it up reasonably full with water without the bong kissing you every time you pull the bong rip. Unfortunately, hot pockets. Unfortunately, the the prevalence of smoke shops and weed ancillary weed linked industries like bong makers and stuff have resulted in a whole shit ton of horribly designed bongs. Don't try to be cute with your bong making and avoid what's necessary. This double bell jar, or whatever these little round parts are, this double round part thing is critically important, because then if you don't have this, if it's just straight glass tube, this goes straight in here, the bong will kiss you every time. Every time you pull a bong rip, you get water splash up in your mouth. And you don't need a big bong either. Why do people get like these tall ass floor bongs that require 2 people to use them and stuff? Who can pull bong rips that big anyway? If anybody could, it would be me. And I can tell you from a lifetime of experience that nobody is served well by trying to pull massive bong rips. Like, oh, let's get a milk carton or a milk jug, cut off this, and let's do a gravity bong rip. That's a terrible idea. You're just going to make yourself cough so much. My retractable gonad pouch, aka minute sack, when I woke up this morning, I don't know if it was cold or what, but my retractable gonad pouch had squeezed up as tight as it could and pushed my nuts back up into my body almost. I was like, where did my nuts go? But then I found them. It's interesting that people do that. They were originally made for Shaq, and the Shaq told them to make them all commercially available. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like me, where I put the plastic bags from the grocery store. I put them up above the fridge in these cabinets that I can reach, but even I have to like reach to get in there. There's zero chance that Rachel's getting any of those bags out of there. But that's why I figured it's a good place to put those bags, because you can't put anything else in there except something like that, because if it's something Rachel needs to get into, she's never going to be able to get it. They're getting a ladder. Good morning, Don Kynos. Don Kynos, Dat Boy Klaus, Lilast, and Jeremiah Fix I want to offer each and every one of you a personalized welcome. I'm 6'4" and a half. There was a moment in my tallest moment in my life when I measured 6'5". But people shrink a little bit as they get older. Not very much, but I'm no longer 6'5". More like 6'4" and a half. So I'm dead, I'll probably be 6'4" even. Right. That's still tall enough. You know that Jerry West was only 6'3". I'm taller than Jerry West. Therefore, I'm a better basketball player than him. That's why I'm filing my discrimination lawsuit against the Lakers. If they're going to hire Jerry West back in the 60s and 70s to be a basketball player at 6'3", then they should hire me at 6'5", 4.5. And that's why I'll sell you for $100 trillion. $100 trillion? Are you sure you're not asking for too much, Eric? No. The amount of emotional distress I experienced when I was unable to play for the Lakers, well, the amount of financial liability the Lakers have incurred by inducing that emotional distress is equal to $100 trillion. We've calculated it using an indisputably objective metric. For every tear I cried, $1 billion. So how many tears did I cry? If I have $100 trillion settlement from the Lakers to compensate me for emotional distress at a rate of $1 billion per tear, how many tears do I need to shed before I have earned $100 trillion? Well, the answer is 100,000 tears. That's the answer. That's how many tears I shed. I deserve $100 trillion. My friend on hormones is hella shrinking, like went from almost 6 foot to 5'10". Like, I'm glad she found herself, but I feel jealous for her because I always had a thing for her even before she went by her. Oh. Wow. I don't know what to say about that, Don Carlos. I knew a guy who transitioned into Tiffany, and but I didn't ever meet with him in person, so I couldn't tell you if he got less tall. His chest got more tall. I never stopped calling him him though, because that's how, when I first knew him, I knew him as a he. So my perception of him as a male never changed, even though he did. But, you know, it's like Rachel and I were watching an episode of Naked and Afraid where they had a transgender person on it. And I just was talking with Rachel about this dude, you know. And she's like, actually, they're transgender. I missed that part where they announced that or whatever. And I said, wow, I mean, he really does look like a dude. She says, no, no, he is a dude. He transitioned to a chick. And I said, that beard is undermining his femininity dramatically. So the thing is, I believe in my perceptions. Namely, if I know the facts about you and I perceive you as a male, then I'm not going to lie to you and use any different pronoun than he or him. I may avoid using a pronoun at all. She passes pretty well. Good for her, you know. So if she passed pretty well, if I were to see her, I'm sure I'd say, well, look at that. There's a woman over there. And then I'd just think of her as a her. Like they had this congressional hearing where this large, homely woman was answering questions from, I believe it was Rand Paul. And I didn't realize until somebody said in the chat or whatever, oh, that's a dude. That's a transgender person right there who's answering the questions. So I just, even though once I was informed of that, I was like, oh, that's why she's so, for lack of a better word, ugly. You know, is that that's not a chick. But because I perceived her as such, that's how I would continue to perceive her regardless and would refer to her as such. So it's like, my rule is this. If you want me to call you by your preferred pronoun, fool me into actually perceiving you as such, and then I'll think of you that way. If you are unsuccessful in fooling me into perceiving you as such, then I'm never going to think of you that way. Because I am a sensible human being who, once he learns an unchanging fact about somebody, he doesn't revisit it to update his knowledge base. So I never revisit the fact that Don Kynos was a live birth. Because once that fact's been established, it can never change. So, you know, it's like, I don't check again. Wait, was Don Kynos a live birth? I just accept that he definitely was, and it never gets updated because it never needs to be updated because it's a permanent status. Same thing with your sex. If you're born a man, it doesn't matter how much junk cutting off you do. You still got an XY chromosome, and that makes you male. It's like, I'm not trying to invalidate their expression of themselves as a woman or whatever. I'm trying to say, please let's not destroy definitions in the process of doing this. Can we use words that mean things, please? And mean specific things when we use words, please? You know, that's all I'm asking for. So it is, of course, wicked and insane to pretend like whether or not you qualify as a woman for universal purposes can be determined by whether or not you want to qualify as a woman for personal purposes. And the reason we have to do the former and never the latter is because if we accept the latter, then you got dudes putting on a dress and competing in women's track and field. Well, I'm transgender. Well, you don't even have any boobs and your junk's still on. Well, I'm pre-op. I'm still a woman. Okay, this is why we have to use words that mean things and to mean things when we use words. So nobody gets to ever change their sex. They can change their public position on which gender they identify as. But remember that third parties who aren't that person, obviously what's most important is to preserve their perceptual autonomy. Like, if you're going to transition into a woman, understand that that means you're changing the story you're telling about yourself for personal and subjective reasons, not that you're actually changing in any way, right? You haven't changed, actually. You may have maimed yourself. You may have unwisely injected hormones that aren't consistent with your sex, or any number of other things. But you've not changed anything about who you are, except in your own mind. And so, if in fact that kind of those kind of subjective protocols are determinant on the issue for you, then they also have to be determinant on the issue for me. My subjective knowing function, SI, knew Tiffany before he became Tiffany, and so I know him as definitely a dude. I did, of course, respect his indications as to what his name was. Everybody should do that just as a matter of courtesy. If somebody tells you, I don't like being called Timothy, please call me Tim, you should do that, right? Similarly, if somebody says, don't call me Michael anymore, call me Tiffany, well, I'm going to go with that at least one time. Now, if somebody comes to me every day and tells me, today my name's Toby, now my name's Darren, now my name's Judy, I'm not going to respect their indications very long, right? I'm going to say, okay, well, since you can't decide on a name, I'm going to pick a name for you. Dumbass. But yeah, the thing is, I get that the winning argument, when you factor everything in, is that you ought to do your best to not be a dick and respect the fact that this person's willfully changing their gender identification and would like you to go along with it, right? There's no reason to be a dick about it, because obviously it's not like transgendered people are Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and their friends. Instead of being overly empowered and under-critiqued, they're the opposite. So they don't need you to shit on them too. So, it's like, if Tiffany still comes around the channel sometimes, I hired him to do some tech work for me, and he did a brilliant fucking job with it, frankly. But then it went really south at the end when I said, okay, well, I can't afford to pay these monthly expenses that you're charging me for upkeeping this system that you put together for me. But I paid him like $1,500 to put together this code that automatically recorded raw room shit and snipped it into 15-minute long chunks and uploaded it to the raw channel 24 hours a day. Even if there was nobody in the room, it would just record 15 minutes of blankness and upload that of just an empty meeting room, Anyway, his competency and skill as a tech guy should not be in any dispute whatsoever. And he's an ENTP too. And, we ENTPs are not necessarily that skilled at complicated tech things. Although if we are going to be skilled at it, it would be something like that, coding slash, you know, modularly assembling bits of code that exist or whatever, you know. But his solution was great. The way he did it worked beautifully. But when I said, okay, I can't pay for you to continue to upkeep this thing, just give me the keys and I'll drive myself from now on, he fucking stole his code that I had bought. But fortunately, Susie and a guy from Morocco who used to be around here, another INSP like Susie, they fixed it. They came up with their own solution that was somewhat different. It wasn't as clean a code product as I had purchased, the one I had paid him to build me, but the fucking thief stole his code when he left. You don't get to take your code, the work product I paid for. Can you imagine if you hire a painter to come to your house, and when he leaves, he takes all the paint you just put on your house with him? That's another fucking Stephen Wright joke. I went to the hardware store the other day. I bought some used paint. It was in the shape of a house. Here's another Stephen Wright joke. My dental hygienist is really pretty. When I go to get my teeth cleaned, before I go in, I always eat a whole box of Oreos in the waiting room. Something like that. The joke being, he purposely makes his teeth super dirty, so this girl has to clean them for a long time so he can be in her company. But apparently unaware that having super disgusting teeth like that is not going to be a good way to pick up on that check. That's the engine of the humor in that joke. You see what I'm saying? I like analyzing jokes a lot. Here's the next Stephen joke. I've got a microwave fireplace. I can sit in front of it for the whole evening in just 8 minutes. Comedy jokes. That's a great joke. And Stephen Wright was just the master of concision. His jokes are all super short. One line, fucking right hooks. He's great. I went to the movies. Sign said, adults $5, children $2.50. I said, I'll take 2 boys and a girl. Good stuff. Good stuff. Makes me want to compile a database or a spreadsheet of all my good jokes, but I have to do a lot of reviewing things. Like I have to go through a lot of old videos, watching for good jokes, write them down. Like my most recent made-up joke, I love Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy too. Well, like I said, Jeremiah Fix, it may have been modular, but that package of a modularly compiled code chunks plus a little bit of Python, I think he wrote, ended up being an app package that was just really, really NITE in its pop. Like I had a separate link on my desktop that would launch an app on my desktop that managed the video chunks, so that if it stopped doing it for some reason at any point, I could go in there and reset it and make it go back again. And I could see certain things from that app. And he definitely created that app. That was basically, it's like a Magic the Gathering app, where there's this app they have for Magic the Gathering that you have on your desktop, in which you keep track of all the cards you have, and you can make digital decks out of those cards, and you know, it's something that would be involved in any online game of Magic the Gathering, but isn't actually part of the game. You know, it's like that kind of thing. If I saw two guys named Hambone and Flippy, which would you think liked dolphins the most? I'd say Flippy, wouldn't you? You'd be wrong though. It's Hambones. I would say Hambone, actually, because, you know, just as gynecologists aren't that enthusiastic about vaginas, so too is Flippy not very enthusiastic about flipping. Hambone, on the other hand, loves flipping. He loves flipping, he loves somersaults, he loves cartwheels, every kind of variation of those things. Hambone loves them. You know, he was in synchronized diving in the Tokyo Olympics. You know what I found out? And I was absolutely stunned to discover this. Greg Louganis was gay. It changed my perspective on the Speedo entirely. Prior to finding that out, I thought the Speedo was like the most masculine of all outfits. Then I learned that Greg Louganis was gay. And now I've thrown away all my old Speedos and bought new pink ones. Because I get it. I guess if you wear a Speedo and hang around with a bunch of other people wearing Speedos, you just develop an affinity for penis. Dad always thought laughter was the best medicine, which I guess is why several of us died of tuberculosis. My dad always used to say, laughter is the best medicine. But if that's true, why did he shoot so much heroin? You know, I think let's update that saying. Let's update it to, laughter is the second best medicine, and medicine is the best medicine. I think that would be a more accurate saying. My friend Corey, this song called Eddie Van Halen. I'll put a link to it here, actually. I have not been able to get it out of my head for days. I woke up this morning saying, out of my own savings and loan, rabid with envy, taking suburbia out to look for my spoon with Eddie Van Halen. Satan is everywhere. Hey baby, be nice to me, 'cause I sure could use some sympathy. I'm really and too far from home, and I'm giving you this special poem. Robbing my home, savings and loan, mama, mama, to look for my spoon with Eddie Van Halen. Satan is everywhere. CJ. Just a second. Taking suburbia out to look for my spoon with Eddie Van Halen. Satan is everywhere. Hey baby, be nice to me, 'cause I sure could use some sympathy. I'm sleepy and too far from home, so I'm sending you this special poem. Like, Corey didn't sing this particularly well on the track, but it's a brilliant composition. I'll talk to you about you in a second, CJ. Savings, grab it, stingy, making for guardian angels everywhere. Hey baby, be nice to me, 'cause I sure could use some sympathy. Anyway, it's such a good song. Are you streaming right now, CJ? You are sorry right now. I gotta figure out how to play this song again. I should play this every time I play the guitar. This song is so fucking good. Yes, CJ, let's do it now. I'm sudden, like all of a sudden, people. You're on today. Way back to December, or was it November? October, it's hard to say. Yeah, friends tried to warn me. They said you're just lonely. That we could go our way, fall away. But it didn't. For me, stayed hidden. Moving towards the city, moving towards the city. It's not a clear winning. At least we got paid. Going back to December, or was it November? October, it's hard to say. Well, my friends tried to warn me. They said you're just horny. But I heard it. Fall away, fall away, fall away, fall away. State your game. There are angels in the wings, but it doesn't change a thing. They are thinking about you. State and state your game. There are angels in the wings. State your game. There are angels in the wings. And there are angels in the wings. And it doesn't change a thing. They are thinking about you. And they are talking about you. And they are talking about you. And they are angels in the wings. Oh my God. I've got to call Corey. He is such a genius. Siddhartha would toil, another night. Siddhartha the royal had it right. Siddhartha, Siddhartha, where are you now? The fantasy is to have Siddhartha right in front of me. That's interesting to see. I haven't seen that in a long time. But of course, the audio quality is crap because it's recorded on a phone. You know. Okay, so CJ, I'm going to put for you. No, let's just use the link for tonight's the schedule for this evening. Okay, let's meet there. I'm going to end the stream now, so I can type CJ, and then I'll publish that for sometime today. I'll schedule for sometime today when we're done, unless CJ says no, he doesn't want me to do that. All right, so CJ, I will see you in the Google Meet room in just a couple of moments. Goodbye, everybody. We're going to use the one from this evening, okay? It's on the calendar for this evening. Just to make sure there's no problems, let me get the goddamn link. Oh, I won't be able to paste it here. So just go to the one that's scheduled for 6 o'clock tonight. Go to that Google Meet room, and I'll see you there. I'm currently entering that room right now. there. Goodbye, good night, and good luck.